स्टार्ट हो गया, उन्होंने डाल दी ज्वाइन। Good afternoon, Sarita ma'am.
Narendrajit, how are you?
I'm good, ma'am. How are you?
I think our hosts have not joined.
Yes, ma'am. अभी ज्वाइन नहीं किया उन्होंने।
ठीक है, we'll wait. So, hello, good evening, Chris. I think it would be morning at your place.
It's literally just turned afternoon now. It's 12:30.
Okay. So, Professor Vimal is joining in a few minutes. She is in another program, and she just told me to welcome you here and till she joins, so we can probably begin a bit till she's joining.
Okay, yeah, no problem. You just tell me where you want me to start, and I can share my presentation and go from there.
Good afternoon, Chris.
Hey, afternoon. How are you? You okay?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Yes, it's all good. It's a little bit cold here. It's currently 12 degrees, so I prefer if it was a bit warmer, to be honest.
Yeah, it's afternoon and extremely hot for all of us in the evening. So we are having different weathers here across the
Oh,
globe.
I am jealous. I am jealous. It's been raining.
You come over to India. Come over to India. Don't feel jealous.
Oh, I'd love to. Absolutely love to.
And we can exchange our places. We
Perfect.
are jealous of that weather. We would love that. So
Fantastic.
Yeah, my sister is in UK. She's in Wolverhampton. So she told me
oh,
yesterday that there is too cold over there.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
Wolverhampton can be cold, and there's quite a lot of rain around Wolverhampton as well.
Yes.
Maybe not as much as Wales, because Wales it rains all the time. That's why it's always very green here. But it is a nice place to go. So it's a good place. I've visited Wolverhampton a few times, and it's a lovely place to go to. It's really
Yes.
nice. So she's chosen somewhere very, very, very good to go to. Very nice place.
I have been there for 2 times. I visited her. Yeah. In
Oh, okay.
2015 and 2019.
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, literally just before the lockdown then, before everything closed. So that's good.
Yes, yes. After the lockdown, I was not able to go. So I'm planning this year now.
Oh, fantastic. You're very excited then.
Yes, of course.
I think, Chris, you had also visited India a few months back.
Yes, yeah.
And what was it was winters at that time here?
Oh, okay. So that was I think that was July, August.
July, August. So
Yeah,
that was
so
the program in India International Center. I believe we'd all attended that program.
that's right. Yeah, it was remarkable. Such an exciting experience it was to go, to come to India. The traffic is something else. It's very, very crazy.
Yeah.
I like to ride motorbikes and things, but of course I could never do one.
You couldn't venture, you couldn't dare to.
Oh, good God, no. Oh my word. It's actually frightening thinking about it.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, it's a lovely place. So lovely people. Everybody was so nice. All the education establishments I went to, everybody was accommodating. They all wanted to get to know us, and yeah, it was a lovely place.
It was a lovely program also. We really loved the talk that you delivered over
Oh,
there.
thank you. Thank you. Well, hopefully we got a little bit more to touch on it for today in terms of gamification. So yeah, fingers crossed now.
Yes, even we are looking for some new like AI tools and of course the gamification we want to include
Okay.
in our teaching.
Oh, excellent. Okay, so yeah, I've got a few examples I'm going to show you. So everybody's going to have a practice of that. So hopefully everybody's by a computer. Obviously, because you're on Zoom. But I know one of the events that I delivered for GAD-TLC in the past, there was a gentleman who had a mobile phone in his pocket. And he was riding a bike through the town, through the city, whilst listening to me talk. I think, I've never seen that before. So as long as everybody's in front of a computer, you can practice. That's great.
Yeah, I'm sure we can.
Okay. So are we waiting for Vimal to attend, or shall I make a start?
Actually, she said she would be joining in by 5. So I think maybe we can just wait for another few minutes.
Right.
Uh,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the meanwhile, you can tell us what all there is Professor Vimal is there. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Hi, Vimal, you okay?
Yeah. Good morning, Chris, and good evening to each one of you. So I welcome you, Chris Manley, and Phil will be joining.
No,
Good evening,
Phil's unfortunately. Phil is we have inspections in colleges and schools in the UK. He did say he will do his utmost to try and attend a little bit later, but you know, we've kind of gone through everything earlier on, and it was just with Estin, it's usually like a last minute. They let us know like a weekend before or something, so he's a little bit busy, unfortunately.
Sorry for being 3-4 minutes late because I was having another inaugural. I just started for a program. So coming back here, it's a pleasure that we have Professor Chris from NPTC Group of Colleges, UK. And today, as we have put up in the poster also, that this session, we are going to give you a add up, and we will consider the already conducted e-content FDP. So based on that, there will be assessment. I think Professor Chris will be telling very minor one, which I think today it will be handled. And he is going to apprise us on various tools. I think simulation you're going to tell. You're also going to tell us on the virtual gamification part, if I'm not wrong. And especially, Professor Chris, I'll be looking forward that if we can also look at the tools on how the quiz generation, the other e-content generation can be automated with the AI tool, especially like Teachermatic. If we can take that part, I think that is going to be very good. And before I actually invite him to take the session, let me briefly introduce you because we like to see how he has also gone into so many international events and is also heading training for the China. We like to even try to know that also, that what type of trainings they are learning, because we Indian teachers, we want to now see that how globally we can also prepare ourselves. So let me just introduce Christopher Menry started his time at NPTC Group in 2004. And during the course of his career as a lecturer, he has taught learners on a wide range of different levels and taught learners of all abilities. The teaching experience, if we talk about it, ranges from almost around 19 years on A-level and various vocational courses, full-time and part-time delivery to higher education students of HNCT degree programs, delivery to returning adults, what we in India call as the lifelong learners or adult learners, on a wide range of part-time skills-based courses, and most recently is delivering on the CPG program online as well as face-to-face for China higher education. Christopher has focused more on teacher education as well as cyber security, network security, artificial intelligence, and the Internet of Things as emerging technologies to provide students with the necessary knowledge to start their careers in the computing industry. Just a minute. In 2018, Chris was appointed as HNC coordinator, working with a team of talented individuals during the 2022 QAA review. And he was one of the 3 higher education coordinators asked to speak on a range of topics in support of college higher education provision to the QAA Quality Enhancement Review team. The QA is actually, let me make it clear to all our colleagues here, is Quality Assurance Agency for Higher Education. Besides delivery, he has maintained a focus for the supportive element of higher education students and expressed interest in supporting additional learning needs and started an ADHD support group, which has since been taken over by the Student Service Department. This is one of many items of experience that Chris used as a part of the application process to the Higher Education Academy, where a fellowship was awarded and confirmed the standard of excellence. And he's also currently pursuing doctorate in education. And let me add that he is very excited with the opportunity to represent NPTC group of colleges and travel to Kunming to deliver face-to-face sessions and building friendship with overseas partners, including India, like us. So with these words, Chris, I welcome you once again on behalf of India and all my Indian colleagues here who are very excited that how we can learn this new thing coming, the entire AI, this and all, although some sessions we have attended earlier also. But today I think is going to be a different dimension and something hands-on also we are looking that if you can involve us into. So over to you, Chris.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so I've got a presentation, so I'm going to just quickly share my screen. So just bear with me, and then I can begin. Okay, okay, can you let me know if you can see that, please?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, so I've got 3 topics, not just the 2 here today, and I'm going to be talking about simulation, gamification, as well as AI and e-learning content development. So the agenda, what I'm going to be looking at is the introduction. I want to define what the actual terms mean. Okay, so what is simulation? What is gamification? Then we're going to look at some of the objectives, as well as then simulation and a chance for you to experience and gamification. And the reason why I do this is because I find the best way to learn is to actually practice something for yourselves. And as we're all educators, we do like to know how to use these things. So I've got a few websites I'll be able to put into the chat. And once we've kind of done that, I'll show you how to use some of these applications for simulation, AI, gamification, and then it allows you to build up enough knowledge then ready for the assessment, which is going to be at the end. Okay, so key terms defined as you think about now, what is simulation? So in education, this actually refers to the use of virtual or physical models. And those 3 elements there, which is processes, systems, and environments. So for the purposes of teaching and learning, this allows the students then to explore different processes, as in how they think. Systems, maybe it could be something like using a computer system or a business process type of system, or even the environment. Okay, so if you think about environment, something like if we're teaching people that are using like fire service or something, they could put themselves into that position in a safe place so that they can actually make those decisions properly and safely. And then gamification, on the other hand, then is education that refers to the application of game design elements. So there's things like points, badges, leaderboards, challenges, and storylines. So I've got a little bit more about each of these because there's a psychology attached to why we would want to use gamification and simulation. So we should be covering the education pedagogies and simulation within education, and that's the whole purpose then behind this particular session. And like I said, we've also got AI at the end. So the Open University publish documents on pedagogies, and there's a growing focus on emerging trends where it is increasingly necessary to stand back and make sense of those innovations. So what we're saying is, as teachers, we know that this new stuff exists. We know that these new developments are happening. But how do we get our students to use them, but also to use them effectively? Because, like with ChatGPT and with Canva and all of those other AI tools, it's not just about us showing the students, it's about us showing the students and how they could be used. And I always like to use the word transferable. So if a student's using something, they should have some transferable skill they'll be able to take with them onto their next career path, or maybe take with them onto the next assignment. So what we're doing is we have to stand back and make sense of these innovations, just like the quotation there. Okay, so the objective for today then is we're going to be looking at the science of both of these pedagogies, as well as then look at those cognitive theories that support active learning. So the two that there's a few of them, okay, but the two that I think are most strong in terms of using simulation and gamification is constructivism. So this is now where learners construct their own understanding of the world and then reflection. So, if you go back to how the scholars kind of declare this, it's sort of, you speak to a child and a child sees an animal with 4 legs, a head and a tail, and they'll consider that to be a dog. But then you show them a picture of a cat, and because the children have got such a fundamental understanding of that, the constructivism part, they will also see the cat as a dog because it's the same thing. It's got a tail, 4 legs and a head. So what we do then is we add more things on top of that. So that becomes more constructivist approach. Then social constructivism is where learners construct social environments and enhance their learning through interactions and dialogue with others. So, if there's something like a problem solving experience where you put them into a scenario and they understand various different things about it from different perspectives, then they'll be able to socially construct their own understanding. Okay, and to give you an example, one of my research things is looking at esports, and it's how the students problem solve quickly and how they can use those things to their advantage. So if there's something going on within the game and maybe capturing a flag or something, one of the others will have experience and they'll talk to each other on the headset. You need to go in that location to get that flag, and tell them how to do it. So it's socially then they construct that. So it kind of builds on the constructivist approach, but it's also then how they interact with one another. We talk about cognitive load, and this is an interesting thing because, sometimes we look at maybe giving the students too much of a cognitive load. And this obviously focuses then on the amount of working memory a learner can hold at any one time. So this is different for all types of students, and it's ultimately about managing those chunks of information in their understanding. So if we give too much to the student, then it becomes too much of a cognitive overload. Therefore, learning doesn't take place. And that's why some of these tools and techniques that we're going to look at today are very useful, because that chunking, that information then can be disseminated, split up, and allows them to, take that idea forward. Whereas if it's just too much information, it's too much to do anything with it. Therefore, they can't think and put themselves forward with it. So there's also then this term here, which is zone of proximal development, and they can achieve more by having the right help at the right time through guidance, support, and scaffolding. So again, if we go back to the esports example that I gave, which is, if they are trying to decide on a particular avenue to take to do some kind of problem solving idea, then they will then look at all different options and say, well, if I'm in this situation, what do I do now? And then we can pause that and speak to somebody who's more experienced and get those ideas. So how this relays back to simulation and gamification, we will take a look at shortly. Okay, experiential learning is a wonderful, wonderful development. So it's Kolb's theory of experiential learning utilizes the role of experience through that learning active process. So there could be something like, using a piece of welding equipment, or there's something, anything like a field trip, maybe playing football, or anything that allows them to actually directly engage with that material. And that helps then the students to develop how they would use that in future. And again, coming back to what I mentioned earlier about the transferable skill. Okay, the next one here now is metacognition. So learners are also encouraged to think about their own thinking and actually learning process and self-assessment. So they could write down things like journals, reflective discussions, it could even be part of an assignment. But if they do something and they do it well, how did they do it well? If they did something they didn't do it so well, what's the feedback that they can get in order to help them to do it better in the future? And that feedback, feed forward, it's sort of replicated throughout all of the things that we do. So if we look now at simulations providing experiential learning opportunities, which we just mentioned, looking at experiential learning. So we've got immersive engagement. So if you've got something with a relevant simulation and that can replicate that real world situation, that means there's a direct context between doing something in the field or doing something actually on the job to what they're doing as a pretend format. So in this image here, which by the way, I created using AI, you can see there's lots of students there which are using virtual reality headsets, and actually engaging themselves in that immersive experience to learn something about what they're doing. So some of the examples that I like to give when I'm discussing immersive engagement is going for job interviews. And there's a really interesting one whereby you can desensitize students. So it's quite a frightening thing to be talking in a job interview. But if they can desensitize themselves to it, they say it's okay and you need to be able to think on your feet, that they presented on the virtual reality headset with two people that are questioning them. And once they do that enough times, when they get to the real scenario, they've already sort of experienced it. Although there's no substitute for the actual thing, but there's something in their minds that says, I've done this before. I'm okay. I can think through this. And it's a really useful tool. So we look at then, which is active participation. So the learners then are encouraged then to make decisions, engage in their learning, solve those problems, and navigating those scenarios. So this helps with the retention of information because they're actually actively involved in that thing. So if we go back to the example with using job interviews, because they're part of it, when they get to the real scenario, they're already aware of what to expect. Maybe if it's maybe the heart's beating a little bit, but how they do it is down to them because they've already been involved. So another thing that's really good is learning through experience. So the safe environment for trial and error. Okay. I always tell students that fail is okay. To fail is okay. There's no problem with failing. In fact, I use the word fail as like an acronym which stands for first attempt in learning. And when you explain that to the students, they then start to change their mindsets because they're gaining experience. They're not, if they get it perfect first time, brilliant. There will be those students that get it perfect first time. But at the same time, you will also get students that aren't, they have to learn through trial and error, and they'll get things wrong. They'll type that program out. That program doesn't work. So therefore, they've got to try and fix it. So it's always about then that safe environment for them to feel not just safe as in away from catastrophic events like a fire, but actually safe that us as lecturers, us as teachers, allow them the chance to fail, are okay with them having a chance to fail. They say they give us work. We don't reprimand them if they get questioned wrong. And it's one of those powerful teaching techniques I found to be one of the most useful things to me, which is giving the students a chance to just tell me what they think. And sometimes it's wrong, but I tend not to take that answer to be that's a wrong answer, but rather, okay, let's have a look to see how we can put it right. That then also includes that immediate feedback, which is they can provide it with that instant feedback on decisions and actions and allows them to understand the implications of their choices. So they learn through the experience in a safe environment with trial and error. I give them immediate feedback on things like questioning or the work they're doing. So then allows them to understand and take things forward and understand a little bit more about their thinking. Come back to that metacognition, meta thinking. The next thing then, which is reflective observation. So learners, after participating, can reflect on their actions, experiences, decisions, and the outcome. So that ultimately leads then to them developing something that they can learn from. Either they take it further and understand it and maybe, change their career path or some other kind of description. Then they come on to the critical thinking and analysis. So these simulations often present those complex situations that require critical thinking and problem solving skills. And all of that then helps the student to develop themselves. We aren't the ones that facilitate the development, but they do it all on a reflective cycle. We go on to now, which is then conceptualization and application. So the learners can apply theoretical knowledge and practice contexts. Then they learn that through application. So they look at what they've done, they conceptualize it and apply what they think they should be doing. That then also is the next point, which is a skills development. So they offer the opportunities to practice the conceptualization, and they get things like leadership, communication, teamwork, decision-making, all within that contextual and that conceptual setting. You then see them developing but off their own backs because they become a little bit more engaged in what they're doing because they're given that safe environment. They know how to apply something once they've learned it, and then they obviously develop in the skills as they go. in my topic, which is cybersecurity, I often see this because it's a skill they may not learn until they get to something like a degree level. Whereas if I teach them when they're 16, 17, 18 years old, they're really excited because this is something they've heard about and they want to know about it. And then when they conceptualize it, they know the process, they apply it, they understand what they've done, that then they've got the theory to come with it. So that then they talk to each other about how to solve problems. Maybe they've gone on different parts. Maybe one student is better at doing the cybersecurity than somebody else. So then what they've got in front of them is an absolute working knowledge of being able to understand that that process, that thing that they're actually going to complete. Then we come on to social learning and personalized learning. So social learning, which is very similar to the social context we talked about earlier. And this is where learning can be designed to be collaborative and requires good communication and teamwork. And then personalization is down to target setting. So I've been doing target setting with students for quite a number of years where I'll explain to them, if they're struggling on one particular aspect of an assignment, I'll help them break it down into different contexts, into a granular form, and then they can see the next target. So once they've done that, they can then kind of start to develop more clues and more answers to how to complete an assignment rather than looking at it as a whole picture. So with this personalized type of learning, this helps them to facilitate that kind of pedagogy. And from the point of view of actually using the simulation, it still allows them to build up that as a whole, so that they haven't not just learning the cybersecurity, is what is the cybersecurity hacking example that we've done in class? How does that apply to industry, and what can they learn from it? Does that mean that, for instance, if a college or a school were to be hacked, they would know how it was hacked and how to stop that? Okay, so it's always about them developing their own personalized learning. Okay, so now we've got some examples of simulation, and I would like you to experiment with these. Okay, so first we got the welding simulators. Okay, so the welding game app, okay, you can access through your web browser. So I'll see if I can bring that up on my screen as well. And it's the website is weldinggame.web.app. Okay, and see, I've had a go with this before. And although it's not the same as holding an actual welding kit, it's something that they can practice and try and get, their sort of steady hand to go across. Okay, so I'd like you to, I'll put this one to the chat now. I'd like you to practice with it, because even though it's taken away the actual holding of a welding gun, it still gives them the chance of like, okay, they know what they can see what they've got to do to make that weld. They know how to do the weld, and they know what they're looking for. It's because there's instant feedback as well. Okay, so we'll just see if I can find the chat. Okay. Okay, so can you take a few minutes and just sort of have a try of this? So, completely off it. So, okay, I've done a really bad weld here. My weld has gone up onto the top, and it's telling me that I need to try again. Again. It's giving me instant feedback as I'm doing it as to what kind of angle I should be working from. So I've got a better score on that one. So I'd like you to have a little practice with that. Okay. So can you tell me if you're able to access the website? Just put a yes in the chat. Not sure if any of you actually welded before. meant to try and keep it steady as I can. Didn't so good that time. Okay, fantastic. Thank you. Okay. Okay, so hopefully everybody's been able to have a bit of a practice of that website. And as you can see, because it's a simulation, you have got other applications of welding equipment. So there's the TechSoft AR and the OcuWeld. So the TechSoft AR is it's not just the education part of it, it's also realistic because you actually hold a welding gun and use it as though you are welding two joints together. The welding game app is, it's edge for education. I suppose it's not really realistic and there's no hardware required, but it does give the experience of what you're trying to do. The OcuWeld one, which works on the VR headsets on the Oculus, well, no, the Quest they call it now, on the Quest headsets. So it's good for education. It's sort of realistic. It's not too far a stretch away, and then you do require some hardware. Think about now how you could use this, type of thing within your context. So it may not be welding that you're doing, maybe something else, but it does give the students, a chance to explore that a little bit. So the next one I got to now is a flight simulator, and so this one is just literally allows me to fly a plane. Okay, and I can't remember the controls. Yeah, I'm not trying to fly a plane. Didn't sound off a bit noisy. There we are. So, how this would work possibly, maybe if you've got something where, maybe you are teaching students how to fly a plane, but it could just be down to physics and physics calculations. So they can see, the impact that the gravity will have and on various different things. Okay, I'll put this one in the chat as well. Oh, I've not been paying attention. Oops, the oh. So, okay, I stole my plane. You can choose different planes as well. So if you wish to have the students to sort of experiment a little bit with it. But again, we're kind of focusing here on an experience that they can actually learn from. So maybe it's graphics design, that would be another suitable thing for this. Or you could even look at looking at airspeed and what airspeed the students would need to use in order to take a plane off. Because it is quite, I won't say it's accurate, but it has got those things built into the engine. Okay. And whilst they're playing this as well, they can actually see each other. So they can log in, and what they've got is they can sort of go and explore this a little bit on their own. Now, the maps that are used on this as well. So if you're delivering something like a geographical information systems unit or module, these are based on Google Maps. So you can sign up, you can pay more, you can get more accurate maps in terms of the pixelations of it. But for them, it's an experience. Okay. Close that one out though, because it's making me feel giddy. Okay. So with this one, we've got the GUFS, which is the one I've just shown you. It's good for education. It's not very realistic, and you don't need any particular hardware. So somebody said they couldn't open it. Is that right? Oh, okay, so thank you. Okay, so maybe
Yes, sir, it is working perfectly fine. Yes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you so much. Okay, so with that, again, look at how the simulation could help you with part of your delivery. Could be graphics, could be physics, could be any number of things. Could be the maps and how you could apply that to part of their learning. Like I say, it doesn't have to be them sitting down actually learning to fly a plane, a whole host of things. So there is a full motion experience that I've seen as well. It's extremely expensive. I think it was about £3,000. So whatever that is in Indian rupees, which I should imagine to be maybe 300,000 rupees or something. It's a full motion experience. It is realistic. It does require specific hardware, but it's excellent for education. But from using the GUFS software, they could then move up and look at that, to learn how to fly that plane. The last one I found then, which is again on the Oculus headsets, which is World Flight. And this does require the hardware, which is the headset. It's not particularly realistic, but it is an experience that they can gather, and it's certainly for education as well. Okay, so the next one I've got is the medical simulator. Okay, this is the last of the simulation websites I found, and it's quite needs some specialist knowledge. I'm not a medical person myself, but for this one, I put myself as non-medical. It allows you to go through understanding how things are diagnosed, what exactly is it. So, I'm not a medical person, but you go and speak to the individual, find out what's wrong with them, and you sort of prod them in certain places and gets them, you diagnosing exactly what that issue is and what's wrong with them. So I know how you could use this. I think it would be, in a medical context, if you're delivering healthcare or if you're delivering, primal care or something like that, anything that involves that care element. But you could also use it for problem solving as well. So if there's a problem that you want to show the students as leadership or development or teams, they could always look at using this and sort of helping them to develop that communication down to that social context I mentioned earlier. So I'll put this one up. I'm not really sure how we'd use it in what I'm my subject, but it is quite nicely made. Okay. So look at the patient. So we can talk to the patient. Okay. Say, tell me more about the pain. Okay, so you can use AI and you can have a conversation about it, find out, and you can have an examination, stabilize differential. So it's an interesting thing to use, especially if you're in that healthcare. Okay, so coming back to my presentation, so the full code medical works quite nicely. It's good for education. It's sort of realistic. It doesn't require any particular hardware. You can sign up for a pro version so that they can see, a lot more different complicated cases. If you're diagnosing things, if you're actually training doctors. But for us, it's that learning section. There are various different hardware devices. You can have that full motion experience available as well. There is one which is part of that Airbus, which we did earlier, but they've also got the medical simulators as well. And this last one, which was quite nice, which is the Oxford Medical Simulation, and that's again on the Oculus headsets. So that then is part of them developing, problem solving at the time, and all those kind of social contexts. So it doesn't necessarily have to be, you're delivering medical, you're delivering graphics. It's, looking for where that transferable idea comes from. Okay. So now we've okay, for management especially. Okay, thank you for the question. I'll take a look now at those, and maybe if Vimal can make a note of them, and then we can check them out at the end then.
Yeah, definitely.
So now we've looked at simulation, and we're going to come back now to what the psychology of gamification is about. So this is the leveraging of intrinsic and extrinsic motivators. So things like rewards, points, maybe there's a social status, and it does foster motivation. So because we're looking at those goal setting things, those feedback loops and challenges, it harnesses that human propensity to actually play. So students, I mean, you might see this yourself if you have like a quiz in the class. You know, students just get really, really enthused by being involved in the quiz. Or maybe if there's at the end of the year, there's some kind of there's a prize, you know, you can win a bar of chocolate if you're the first one to get this quiz right. You know, they'll race through it because they want to get that bar of chocolate. And it's only because that's the human part of us, you know, the thing that we like to do. We like to watch games. We like to enjoy play. And it helps then that that intrinsic and extrinsic motivator becomes the reason why we enjoy it so much. So it's a really nice thing to see in the classroom. You know, I used to do this with a programming course, okay, website, which I'll show you later. And you'd see the students actually engage in this in such a strong context that they can end up then talking about it for weeks after, because it was so much fun to do that in the classroom and so different. Okay, so in terms of then what we looked at, which was the gamification, we're going to now look at how gamification provides those experiential learning opportunities. So first of all, we have enhanced feedback. So those points, badges, those types of things, developing that immersive learning in the learning material so that it becomes more content and more meaningful. And they also get that immediate feedback. So the immediate feedback is something that we do, you know, we look for, you know, like not necessarily as an intervention, but the fact is they get something back quite immediately, and they can actually, you know, change how they think, and it's a reflective observation cycle. We look at then, which is increased motivation. So those game mechanics are introduced, like levels, achievements, and rewards to boost their motivation. Again, coming back to how students do actually enjoy playing. One of the things I've already mentioned is about a safe environment for failure. So the students are actually offered that safe space, and they can fail and they can learn from those mistakes, and they become motivated by it because they're okay to make mistakes. There's no issue there. You also have then on this, which is a personalized learning path. So this personalization ensures that the learners are not bored with tasks. So they're not just sitting there running through the same processes. There is something they're actually aiming for. And that then also helps them to develop themselves as self-directed learners. We've also got then, which is collaboration and competition. So they're encouraged to engage in team challenges via leaderboards, and also increases that social aspect that we mentioned previously. So how they collaborate and how they compete then becomes a talking point throughout the rest of the day, rest of the week, rest of the academic year, because it was like who got the best, etc. And it's okay that people, you know, get used to not being the top student. You know, this still allows them to have a little bit of a chance to experiment with it. And there's also then, which is the real world application. So they can apply theoretical knowledge in a practical context. So the gamification, we take simulation aspects, we put it into gamification. That then is part of how they start to learn, how they start to become more driven about their learning. One of the things I've noticed recently, there's an application that I use, which is on Cisco, which is networking, and how the students actually see that as such an exciting opportunity, because they aren't just being told the information, they can experience the information for themselves. And, you know, over the whole of the teaching career, that's the thing that sort of motivates them more, because it's more along the type of things that they do at home for fun. So there's another little thing that I found quite recently as well, which might be useful to you. And this is now called the Octalysis framework. And it's split up into these 8 categories. So there's epic meaning, there's accomplishment, empowerment, ownership, social influence, scarcity, unpredictability, and avoidance. And I'll give you access to this. And maybe if you take a screenshot, unless Vimal will Professor Vimal will send out these slides to you later on, but you'll be able to see then how you can make use of these to, you know, help yourselves with that gamification element. So the education design utilizes gamification represented by that octagon shape and covers the following granular sections. So like I said, there's epic meaning, accomplishment, etc. And what it says for each one of these topics, which I'll cover with you shortly, there's like a reason, there's like a motivation, a motivating factor to the students, to the learners. And it's such a nice way of looking at it, because it's not just, okay, we put games together, they play games, they win games, they compete, they talk. It's more, okay, but here's an intrinsic factor as to why they're doing this. So we first got, which is epic meaning and calling. So this is the motivation of the individuals with the belief that actions contribute to a cause greater than themselves, so that they've been specially chosen for that particular task. The way that it manifests itself is such as dedicating substantial time to community projects. So, maybe there's some type of contributing to open source initiatives. So, they understand that something has an impact on what they do. So maybe if they want to put something back into education, back into their class, they'll see then that the platforms that they use, like Wikipedia, they are actually contributing on a wider meaning. So that gamification, the simulation, all of that then makes sense. So the Octalysis framework is saying, well, if they're involved in playing a game or doing something for their tasks, for their classrooms, that has a bigger impact than just within their little learning context. It's not just their class, but it's everybody. So it's what they're saying is that they're a part of the big picture, the strategic thinking. We also got to now, which is development and accomplishment. So this is fueled by the desire to make progress and enhance abilities. So again, if we mention the kind of cybersecurity competitions that I was involved in with the students, what they saw from themselves was a bigger picture of competing against others. So they wasn't just about the the kind of obstacles, the abilities, is then them engaging it to get themselves up on that leaderboard. Once they were on that leaderboard, they would keep checking it, and they also check their learning, and then they'd end up competing again the next year, and how that motivated them further forward, rather than just saying, I'm doing this because it's my job. The drive is not more straightforward. It's then them, using that and being part of the system, part of the idea. And once they come to the place of work, they'll continue to do it. They'll continue the gamification. Okay, the next one here then is empowerment of creativity and feedback. So what this is discussing then is that the users or the learners are part of that engagement or that creative process. We're looking at experimentation of various different combinations. So they are part then in whole of how their innovative sort of efforts and that feedback, how that can adapt to their kind of learning. So they use that Kolb's observation cycle to say to themselves, okay, well, I've done this. I now need to change something. So I'm going to then have that feedback and use it and actually develop a new creative way to develop something further, to understand a little bit more, to be able to take that into out the context and put it into something else. So they have those outlets for their creativity. So the next one here now is ownership and possession. Excuse me. So this sort of taps into that motivation, which stems from a sense of ownership. So once they own what they do, they take inherent responsibility of that as they're learning. Now, since I started teaching, I've always looked for students to take more onus themselves rather than coming to me for all of the answers. So even something like just a sort of sidestep about how I address students, where if they ask a question, sir, how do I do this? What I will do is I'll say to them, and it can take longer, but they have ownership and possession, is, okay, well, I could answer your question very quickly. I could tell you exactly what you need to produce. But what I want you to do is to come up with a possible solution first and say, Chris, is this what you want me to do? I've done it this way, because you're then spending more time rather than saying, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Say, okay, we'll have a go, have an educated guess, because it might be right. And if it's wrong, then we can change it slightly to get it into the right answer. So that's where this Octalysis framework and the ownership and possession helps us with that, because that idea of them taking total responsibility for themselves and how they understand things is a phenomenal leap forward, especially for 16, 17-year-olds, because by going through the school system, they might have been kind of taught in a particular way for exams, etc. So when they come to actually self-directed learning, it's not familiar to them. So the next one here is social influence and relatedness. So this drive incorporates all the social elements that drive people, mentorship, acceptance, social responsibilities, and companionship, as well as competition and envy. So think about now, if you see a friend that's got some amazing skill or owns something extraordinary, and you drive yourself to reach that same level. So what the way that this kind of works in this framework is that they play in the game, they get the result, they also do something else with the result, and therefore they can compete against others in their own group, in their competitive streak. So then, what they've got is a nice way of learning, a nice way of competing against each other, because they can relate to the others that are in their class doing the same thing. Oh, do you remember that bit where we got stuck and we didn't know what to do? Oh, wasn't it really good how we solved it? I really liked how you solved it, and that's then is part of how we grow up. So the thing I've mentioned here, which is that it's almost like a sense of nostalgia, reminds me of when I was a child. Buying something would be reflective on somebody else had it. So it's always then social influence and how we all work together as a team. So the last one here, which is scarcity and impatience. So this drive incorporates all the social elements that drive people, including mentorship, acceptance, social response, and companionship, as well as that competition. So the scarcity and impatience, then what I was looking for here is to explain that if they have become impatient about things, they don't just start off and say, okay, well, I'm not sure what to do here. They have learned a new skill, and therefore, okay, but it's okay to be impatient. So those social elements, which is very similar to the previous one, still allow them or afford them the opportunity to develop a little bit further. So they are becoming patient, and it's okay to be impatient. It's okay to fail, okay, as they are helping themselves forward. So I looked at a few studies online, and this was quite useful, actually, that if you apply gamification in education, and how the ultimate aim is to get the students to work more or to retain more information. So if there was set, if we had homework completion, which is set by the teachers for learners to complete. So there was like a 300% improvement because they would be involved in some gamification simulation. They were more enthused to do it because it was fun. It was exciting. It was new. It was different. So they've got the 300% markup. How the learners were able to recall and remember that information. So that was still still more improved by using these methods, but obviously not as much, but it still meant that they could discuss and revisit that game and things later on. The learners were more willing to engage in the learning platform. So that's now just over 50% engagement. So, the students were presented with this as a concept because it was fun, new, interested, and novel. They got more interested in it because it wasn't like the usual form of learning of me delivering a lecture, talking about something, making mistakes in the class, all of that kind of stuff. And it was a really nice way to help them. The repeatability of the learners also then increased. So that was almost nearly 100%. So that meant, repeatability was they've come across something like the example of with esports or something, and that problem solving aspect, how they could go into something like an environment where there's a similar kind of esports sort of decision making process, and they could repeat that in that actually increase their performance. So there was a remarkable increase, so if you think about where places that you can use those applications or even create your own, which I've got right at the end, that the students are going to be more contented because they are involved a little bit more in their own education. They make their own decisions. So there are now 4 tools that I've found here, which I'd like you to sort of look at. I think the last one I'll have to forego because it runs on a Windows computer. But the first 3, I'd like you to sort of experiment with. Okay, so this one here is called Code Combat. And the nice thing about this one is it is about an adventure that the students will play, but what they've got to do is, they can choose their programming language, whatever you're doing with them. If you haven't got programming, by the way, probably not the best context. But once they've got this up, they choose their player, and then they start the game. Oh, I can read this. That's a bit noisy. Okay, so
grab the treasure.
It's giving me some instructions now. I need to grab this treasure.
You can use these methods.
Okay, and it's giving me all the information I need to do.
So
So
your code on the right.
There you go. So if I now move down, oops, 0 dot move down. If I run it, okay. So they're learning then, this is sort of computational thinking and how that could be used to create a program later on. And the more they play this game, the more increasingly difficult things become. So this is now, the next one I'm going to do is hero move right. And in here, you can also set stage as well, but they end up sort of running into different things. So this allows me to complete this one. So I can click on done.
Success.
Okay, so there's gamification in it really nicely. So they get the
If you're
rewards.
click the hints.
They can also talk to each other about the rewards, and they can play the adventure game and discuss parts of the story which they probably wouldn't have experienced before. So this is a really nice one, but obviously for computing. So then, that was making lots of noise. So the next one, actually, I'll put that one into the chat view, so you've got access to it. And the next one is Duolingo. So whether or not you've used Duolingo before, it's very useful for learning languages. And this is it's used gamification to such a strong degree that it's extremely powerful. And there's so many users that are using Duolingo. And I'm sure some of you in the audience are actually currently using Duolingo. Okay, so I'll put that into the chat as well. And then we got Kahoot. So in Kahoot, there are some good examples of how to use it. So you can set up quizzes, and the quiz then there's a points basis where it'll present a quiz to the students, and whoever gets the best score is then up on the leaderboard, and then the next question comes along, and again they've got a time limit, and that comes up on the leaderboard, etc. So it's oh, fantastic. Yeah, so using Kahoot in your daily teaching, it's really nice. It's a fantastic tutorial on using Kahoot, but you can see all of this kind of reflects back on all of the context we looked at now with regards to gamification and how gamification works really well. Okay. I've just noticed the time, and I do want to talk to you a little bit about AI, so I'm going to sort of let you have a little play with that. Just give you 1 or 2 minutes, and then we're going to look at the artificial intelligence. Okay. So could you tell me then who says who uses Kahoot in daily teaching? What sort of things do you use it for?
Yes, sir. I used it to make quizzes in my online in the offline classes. So I play that quiz on the projector, and the students, they used to do this on their mobiles.
Fantastic. And do you notice that they kind of get really excited when the scores come up on the board? Did you notice anything like that?
Yes, yes. And students, they just get excited to see the leaderboard changing their names up and down, and and at the end, that podium comes with first and second and third positions. So it's
Fantastic.
very interesting. Yes.
It's very exciting for them as well, and it's
Yes.
exciting for me observing things like that, because it's the fact is they're getting so involved in their learning that they can't wait to see what happens next, and they wait and they're looking at the board and they see these things changing. So
Yes. Yes.
that's a lovely thing to say.
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. So if you've got those websites up, there's some really good tutorials on how to use them. Code Combat is one of my favorites for using for programming development. But the others, you're going to go through and sort of experiment with them and try and, see that they are positive, good experiences for the student, as one of your colleagues just mentioned as well. Okay, so like I said, I'm sort of low on time, and I want to get you experimenting and practicing the tools that we're using for AI. So think about now why we might use AI. Okay, so this is like a work-life balance, and it's a crucial aspect then for us as teachers. So you can use the AI tools to sort of speed up your administration process. So this could be sort of automating routine tasks, maybe if you think about schemes of work, resources, managing schedules, any number of different things that you might be able to use in creating AI. It will help you to sort of reduce your workload and create those flexible learning environments. So what it means is that if we're using virtual classrooms or online assessments, anything with like asynchronous learning options, they're all quite useful in how AI can help facilitate that. But it's got immense potential, but it's essential to actually strike that balance. So if you do use AI, generative AI, to develop something for one of your classes, it's always good to sort of review what's been produced. Is it useful? Is it good? Can it help? Okay, so it's always a thing that you should maybe experiment with, just to see if it maps, is the way I look at it, maps how you think, because there's no good using what AI develops and generates for you and saying, yes, this is the way I'm going to do it, because it may not be how you think. So in the college, we've to develop this process now of a vision. So our vision is to provide a toolkit for use by staff, and that's allowing that lots of training involved. So there'd be then support for those toolkits as well as workshops. Then we look at empowering our staff. So this could enrich the student experience, foster a culture of innovation, and effectively integrate that generative AI. And then encourage generative AI use, which gives a high view interaction, increased efficiency, and streamlining administrative processes. So this encouragement of use, it means that when the students leave us and they go to work in industry, they're already familiar with different contexts. They're familiar with how to use it. Even if it's a case of they've gone into a job and the job says, okay, well, we're going to use AI today. Well, they're already used to it. They're already doing something with AI. Excuse me. The next thing there is to guide students with responsible and ethical use. Okay, so they're not plagiarizing, they're using things that are actually properly done. And for you getting back that feedback as a student, as a teacher, means that, again, when they go up into industry, it's all properly done. It's not them relying on the AI. So this is why we looked at our AI toolkit would be for these different applications here, which would be Teachermatic, Canva, ChatGPT, Copilot, but there's also things like prompting. So if you've used Teachermatic before, it's a fantastic piece of kit. So I'm going to demonstrate that to you shortly. And it's really useful. I find it exceptionally good, especially with the various different generators that are available. Sorry. Okay, Canva's got some really nice ways of generating images. ChatGPT, which I'm sure you all know about, and Copilot, which I'm sort of more new to the game with in terms of me using AI, but it's still got some outstanding things and little tools. So Teachermatic itself is really simple and easy to use. So it allows us to create schemes of work, lesson plans. We can set up smart targets. There's so much available in Teachermatic. So I'm just going to bring this up on my screen. Okay, I've got it here. Oh, so sorry, Teachermatic. Now we have got options. I think Vimal has got there's a certain pricing structure that you can start using Teachermatic. But you have got free licenses that you can use for the time being. So I'm just going to show you the application, log in, create your account, and then you'll be able to start creating them. But I think it's a restriction of 5 a day. Okay. So what I've got here now is a list of these different generators. So things you might use as a teacher, maybe lesson planning, lesson objectives, smart targets, scheme of work. There's a really nice one down here, which is an email generator. So I'm just going to show you how this works, okay? And I would like you to practice with it a little bit. So I'm going to click on lesson plan, and I'm going to choose one of my topics, okay? So I teach the Internet of Things. Okay, maybe I've got a session of about 90 minutes. Skills to focus on, hardware, software development. Oops. sensors API. Okay, you can set here any particular learning needs that the students might have. Okay, I'm going to leave that blank, but I'm going to use the Bloom's taxonomy. So I'm going to put knowledge, comprehension, and application. So then I click on generate, and what this does, it uses the ChatGPT engine, okay, and develops this now as a really easy, simple to read lesson plan for that particular session. So it's down to 90 minutes and even splits it up into how many minutes per section, okay? So this is my Internet of Things lesson plan. So we're going to now look at producing a description of the hardware components, interpret the role of software development, prepare and demonstrate, and describe the functionality. There's also a section here on differentiation. So if anybody's not familiar with differentiation, it's ultimately about targeting the all students, weak students as well as strong students, to be able to get to the best of their ability. Okay, so it's not like everybody's on the same playing field, everybody gets A grades, but just the best that they can achieve, though they reach their potential. So this lesson plan, okay, if I look through this one, maybe there's an introduction, hardware components, software development, and there's it's giving me, you know, some descriptions on what I can do with APIs, but you know, it's not going to write the session for me. It's not going to record a video for me. It's all me using my knowledge, and that as a basis. It's just structured out. It's just planned it for me. So, you know, if you think about how you can use that, you can export that as a PDF or as a Word document. And then when I'm in my class, I can at least sort of tick the sections off. I can use my knowledge on APIs and Internet of Things and deliver that session accordingly. Now, the fact that this has generated this lesson plan in, I think 20 seconds. I think it took less than 20 seconds when I was talking. It means that I can get on and do other things in the meantime. Whereas if I wrote that myself, I'd be talking about a good half hour, I think, maybe 20 minutes minimum to get that lesson plan done. But now I can just go on and create the rest of the content, create the rest of the session, get my PowerPoints running, look at the hardware. And so the half an hour saved, you know, is crucial time for me as a teacher. It's not meant to replace you, it's meant to support you. Okay, so that's the sort of lesson plan. Let me show you the scheme of work. Okay, so the nice one. So for this one now, I'm going to use computer networks. The topics were the IEEE standards, request for comments, I put categories, cabling, and devices. Okay, so I can also add a URL. So I can put in a website link, you know, if there's any particular page that we're going to sort of generate things from. Okay, and I'm going to have a number of sessions, change that to 10, and click on generate. Okay, so this has done the same thing again, but it's now just done the 10 sessions. So I can take each one of those sessions, I can put it back into the lesson planning. So again, how quickly that came up, that was less than it took me to take a drink. So how quickly it's able to produce it and how it supports you. So think about now, if you created your scheme of work, you know, ours are quite detailed, by the way, it's about the embedded skills, etc. Lots of different things going on. But that is such a quick process. I can add the content myself. It's reduced the amount of workload that I've got, but it allows me to spend time more effectively on more effective things. Okay, so that's another really useful one. The one I really want to show you, right, is the email generator. And I really love this one. So Peter Kilcoyne showed us this. He's the brains behind this Teacher-matic system. And it's really useful. So if you're writing an email that you wish to send out to members of your class, maybe if somebody's got poor attendance, or maybe you just want to reward them for something. So use the email. I'm going to write this to the parents. Topic is going to be about punctuality. Today's outcome is to improve punctuality. And then I can select whether I want it to be formal, friendly, encouraging, cooperative, assertive, or concerned. So I'm going to put it down as concerned. And again, think about now how long it would take you to draft an email like this. Even if you're using sort of a dictation software, how quickly it will take you to do it. So if I was writing an email like this, it'd probably take about maybe 10 minutes, 20 minutes if I'm doing it properly. And they may have like a text file with all of the ones I've ever written so that I can copy and paste bits into my emails. Whereas here now it's generated in just a few seconds. So if I read this one out, it's I hope this email finds you well. I'm writing to discuss the matters concerning me, the issue of punctuality. As you know, punctuality is an important value to instill in our children, etc. Okay, so this goes to the parents and is concerned, shows them, you change it, accordingly, but the gist of it is there. Okay, and I've always thought that was a really useful one, especially for, you can spend your time actually doing the teaching stuff that we all know and love. The next thing I wanted to look at is there's a worksheet in here, but there's also the analogy maker. So when I'm teaching and I'm talking about things, I love to use analogies. So giving the students information about a topic that they don't understand and relate it to something that they do understand. So just to give you an example in context, I was once asked, how does a file allocation table work off a hard drive? So the student, I said it was like a catalog, and he said, I'm still not sure. So my description was then, have you ever been to Disney World? And he said, yes. I said, well, when you parked your car, there were thousands of other cars there. How did you remember where yours was? And he said, well, there were little symbols of all the Disney characters. And then he got it because it was just a lookup table. It was just something that he could refer to in order to know where that file was. So the analogies can be a really useful teaching tool. Okay, so the concept I'm going to look at here is going to be digital forensics. Okay, and application of hacking tools. I'm going to get it to produce 5 analogies, so I've got something, and complexity you can experiment with is going to be quite high. So this is now going to take that concept now of digital forensics and give me examples of how we could describe this in class. So digital forensics is like being a modern day detective using cutting edge technology and hacking tools to investigate and solve cyber crimes. So that one's a really nice way of explaining it, because how people can interpret it is it's going to be different across those various different things. Okay, so that's Teachermatic in a nutshell. And I've got a few more, and again I can see the time is running low, so I'm going to show you the others quite quickly. So other things are useful in Teachermatic. Okay, the different age groups that you could be teaching. So if you've got vocational, primary, or secondary, or even HE. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use Canva. Okay, this one. So in Canva, there's AI development, AI generation. It works really well because it's based on just generating images, generating different contexts on things you can use. So let me just make a note here because there is another one I wish to show you. Okay, so if I create a new presentation. Okay, and on this now, I'm going to click on apps, okay, because I've got my blank presentation. Click on apps. I'm going to type in AI image gen. Okay, so it comes up with lots of different artificial intelligence tools. You can experiment with them, find out which one's the good one, the ones you want to use. There are AI voice. So there's, if you've got some text you wanted to read out, you could put that onto your Canva presentation as well. So I'm only going to use the AI image gen just to speed things up a bit. I'm going to add that to my list of apps that I got access to, and I'm just going to describe something. So I'm going to put combine the Welsh flag with the Indian flag. Okay. So hopefully, well, you'll have access to the recording of this later on, and I know I might be going a bit quick, but you can always use it. So that's a nice little image now that is created. It's combined the colors of the Indian flag with the Welsh flag. So now that might be useful to you. Maybe you want to put it in again and see what other kind of images that it comes up with. And what I find useful as well is that, if you've got something like this and you've got younger students, it's about letting them develop things for you. So you get them to write something in a good context, the prompt, and how they can use that to their advantage. And, you know, if it's something like this, or what is a Welsh flag and an Indian flag, how would you combine it, etc. So it's about developing that literacy skill as well. Okay, so the next one I've got is on prompting. So if I just show you the screen here. So when you're using ChatGPT, okay, we're always looking for ways to prompt it. So first of all, we introduce the question with a prompt. So we give it something like generate something for me. You know, maybe sort of asking for information on some glasses, okay, on a set of glasses. Then you give it a role or a voice. You then apply that then to something that could relate to what you're doing. So if you say from the perspective of something else, like if you're developing glasses from an engineering perspective, then you be explicit in your instructions. So the development then is, okay, what I need to get from you is identification of exactly what I want you to produce. So you've got some results, you've got something being produced, something that's been generated, but you want it to be in a particular context. So be explicit about it. Then you set the parameters of your answer. So, you know, rather than going off and finding all different engineering, you want to just locate it. It's just down to, excuse me a second, it's on a time, I do apologize. So you're just going to show it on the kind of within one context of maybe mechanical engineering. Then you evaluate what the output is going to be. Okay, so if you have something and it's produced the answer, but it's not exactly what you're looking for, then you can evaluate it and make some more changes, go back to that first part of prep. Then we're going to determine the accuracy and then corroborate that with the source. So if you're using it to help you write things, identify biases and the misinformation in the output, and then transform that content to reflect the adjustments of those new findings. So all of this is now coming down to what you're asking a ChatGPT to produce for you and how useful that can be as a teaching tool. So, you know, you can put that into context with Copilot. You can do it in various different things in across all of those different teaching elements that you use. So I'm just going to show you now another one, which is Copilot. So I don't know if anybody's used Copilot at all. So it's got a very similar process to ChatGPT, but it also gives you some additional prompts as well. And the thing I asked it to do earlier is to sing a song or make a song for an Indian audience about simulation, gamification, and AI. Okay, and what it'll do is it'll sort of display now the lyrics of the Digital Dreams, and some of it's quite fun, it's quite interesting. You know, you probably get the same kind of information back from ChatGPT. But, you know, if it's just something to sort of experiment with, I mean, you know, maybe some of you have used it. I've got some people saying, yes, we've tried it. You know, it's worth looking at both of them, looking at ChatGPT results and then comparing it with Copilot. But again, you know, if you look at that prompting process and develop a sense of understanding what kind of results it's going to come up with, that allows a little bit more of understanding from your point of view. So think about now what you can do with it. So you can answer questions on various topics. So if you've got something from the audience, somebody's, you know, history or something, language, maybe there's something else you want to use. You can also use it for different things like explanations. You can use this for generating ideas, lots of different contexts. And this then, if we look at Teachermatic, which has got the same generative AI, all of those things as well cover those three topics. You can also use it to assist with those writing tasks, engaging in casual conversations, you know, with entertainment, you know, with jokes and things like that. So you can ask in various different contexts. So, you know, how AI is going to help with the e-learning content is literally down to you and how you use it. Okay. So I've got about 10 minutes left, and I do want to actually show you Socrative. Okay, does anybody use Socrative in the room at the moment? Okay, I haven't had any answers, so I'm going to assume the answer is no. Tried it once, brilliant. Tried it once is perfect, because they've literally just introduced a new AI. Okay, so first of all, the first thing to notice is the thing here, which is a space race. But I need to create a quiz in order to use a space race. So if I click on this, I choose one of the questionnaires I've already created. So in the quiz, I'm sorry, library, sorry, go to library, go add quiz. And I can use actually this now, the AI that will generate those questions for me. So when I tried this earlier on, it was a little bit on the slow side. So I'm going to put 5 questions. So the prompt I want to give it is, well, I put the example here. This is the solar system and natural satellites. Okay, and we're going to click on generate. And this is obviously, again, using the ChatGPT engine. But when I tried it, I haven't had very successful things. But you may think, well, that's an okay question for me. I might use that one. That might be useful. I'm not sure. But how quickly this could be to develop your classes is down to how much you use it, I suppose. So they've got a multiple choice question here, which is was the largest moon. So I'll add that one. True or false, the moon is a natural satellite of Earth. There are armies, I'll add them all. Okay, so I've got those 5 questions in there. So this one now, I'm going to call it as, call it GAD, TLC example, save and exit. So I've got some that I've used over the years. I always use quantitative and qualitative information, purpose of IoT, as well as various different questioning techniques that I've created. So now we go back to my launch, click on my space race, choose the one I've just created, okay, and I can set the class up into teams. So I won't put a count. No, actually, if I put a 5-minute countdown, okay, and I can click on start. So what this does now is if you as students in the class, and I'll put the website up in the session, Socrative.com. Oops. Sorry, autocorrect has changed it. Socrative. Then again. Okay, if you access that website, Socrative.com, okay, and then at the top, okay, click on login, and then you want to click on student login. Okay, so actually if I put that, it's a better one. So click on the site. You can do this on your mobile phones as well. Okay, click on that. Click on student login, and then it'll ask you for a room name. And the room name you're going to type in is here, which is Man LCHR. Okay, so we should get some people now logging in, and you'll be allocated a can I invite you the link? You can use this one as well. You can use the QR code. Excuse me. If you go to the site, you'll then be allocated a team, and then you'll be competing against other people that are in this this example. So Socrative created the questionnaire for me. It's also set up the quiz. It's also done now this gamification. So okay, so somebody's raised their hands. So can we see who that is? Have you got a question for me? I'll paste this into the chat. Yes. Okay. So the assessment that you're going to be doing, the assignment, is I need you to create a quiz like this. Okay. So in the first instance, it would be to log in, and you get allocated a team so you can practice and see what the students would see. There we are. So we get some answers now. So somebody's getting, and the blue team is winning. Okay. Fantastic. Thank you. Okay. So there's only 5 questions. Oh, okay. So the magenta team. Okay. So we now, as a narrative, I do like to get, incite excitement with the students. So I will then start shouting to students, come on, blue team, come on, we can do this. Magenta, you're falling behind. Okay, so we've got 2 minutes left. Almost there. Magenta caught up. Oh, Magenta have overtaken the blue team. Blue team, come on, you're leaving us down. Almost there. Almost there. One minute, 38 seconds left. Okay, so say for instance, example now like this is where maybe students are stuck on a particular question, answer them all, and maybe the system hasn't picked it up. Then we just say, okay, whoever is on the Magenta team has now won that particular thing, and they make a round of applause or some sweets in a bag or something like that. Okay, so that's how simple a process it would be. Okay, it's quite fun, quite interesting, quite new. So I'm going to stop this activity now and just show you once more how to use this, because I'd like you to create your own as part of your assignment. Okay, so once you log in, you'll need to log in on a teacher account. Okay, so you need to sign up, create your teacher account, and then in the library is to create a quiz. Okay, so add your quiz, and you can either type it all out yourself, get it to generate the questions for you, or you can import from something else like an Excel spreadsheet. Once you've done that, it would be then creating the space race, using the gamification elements, selecting your quiz, and then trying that out in class. Okay, so hopefully that's going to be accomplishable by all of you in this sort of within the next week or so, because that's what I would like to get from you is screenshots of your quiz, maybe how you used it in your classrooms, and what the result was. And if you found that the students were really excited by it, is to explain that as well. Okay, so screenshots and a little bit of a description. Probably not going to take a great deal of time. Okay, thank you. It is really interesting. I love little things like this. Okay, so I've got about 4 minutes left, so I'm going to sort of wind down now because I want to see, just make sure there's any questions, and certainly you'll have time to fire them off. So we've looked at if I where's the chat window. Okay, so what we've looked at today is simulation, gamification, and AI tools. Amongst all of that, we've kind of experimented a bit with GOFS, the flight simulator. We've had a little look at the medical one, which was quite fun. And there's also then the welding app, and that was was quite useful. On top of that, you've had a chance to experience Teachermatic, which I absolutely love because it does cut down the workload quite significantly. We've looked at the theories and context as well. Sorry, I missed a bit out of simulation and gamification. And you've also had a practice with Canva. I've explained a little bit about ChatGPT prompting for you to have experience with Copilot, and then using those assessment tools using gamification ideas. Okay, so Professor Vimal, hopefully you're there now. Just wanted to see if anybody's got any questions before we come to that 2 o'clock deadline, which is about 3 minutes away.
Thanks, Chris. I think it is really nice that you shared so many tools and how simulations, gamifications, and then the entire AI-based LMS like Teachermatic can be used for automating our work, I will say, because the type of manual efforts we otherwise put can be reduced. So any questions, colleagues, here? And about the assignment, around that, I'll make a structured template so that they can fit in where the screenshot has to be put in, the steps and all, so that will prepare. And we can give them 1 week till 28th April.
Okay, 28th. That's great. That sounds great.
They can fit in, yeah. I don't think it will require much more. It will be just a half an hour activity. Do you think?
Half an hour. I mean, you saw how quick it was for me to produce it, literally less than 5 minutes. But
Yeah.
just, if you can use it in the classroom, perfect. Be great. And a little bit of a write-up about it and, what you've done, your subject and something. Yeah, about half hour.
Yeah. So it's better that you create and then try implementing in your classroom situation. And you can describe that how the students' feedback and all around your topic. So, yes, any questions?
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for your time. Hopefully this has been interesting. I find I'm really passionate about this. It probably comes across in the way that
I have a
I speed up.
question.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
Hello
Hi.
there.
Yes. Good evening from India, sir. So, my just question is that when I updated my laptop for Windows 10, 11, this time when I updated, I just got Copilot in my laptop automatically. So now, Copilot, as you mentioned, is an AI tool. So, how do I generally should use it? Like whenever I open my laptop and then I have this Copilot also here. So, how can I really optimally use it when I work on my Excels or my Word or whatever, when I open my laptop for some work?
Right. Okay.
Thank you.
So the thing, first of all, about the generative AI part of it is to use Copilot. Like I said, I'm only new to Copilot myself, but it's the prompting is the theory and the structure and the psychology behind it. How you interrogate it, how you ask it to do things, and then reflect it in those different contexts that I've described. One of the things I found useful for it is coding. Okay, is to help students with coding. If they're programming, if that's your subject. But you might find, if you're using it for things like Excel and using it, on those kind of things, there are some good uses in it. There's some really good things that the Copilot. And we could always follow this up with another session if you want, Professor Vimal, on using Copilot, but just focus on Copilot instead.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And
Yeah.
Dr. Vinitha, what I understand is whatever question is coming into your mind, start asking not from Google, but Copilot.
Yeah.
So if like you
Okay,
were
ma'am.
mentioning about Excel, then if you
Yes, ma'am.
don't know what formula has to be used, so
Yes, ma'am.
fine.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
you ask what formula should be used, where I can capitalize all these words. I can combine these two columns, names, and put them in one column. So all these things, I think we can really, put up.
Yes, ma'am. The art of asking a question also is
Yeah.
lacking, Actually, at times, probably I'm not using the correct keywords or so. Yes, ma'am. So that was one thing which I had in mind. So
It
that
will
is at
take time. It will take time
yes,
for
ma'am.
me and others
Yes, yes,
because
ma'am.
And
it's like a new thing for all of us.
Yes,
yeah.
जैसे ब्लैक बोर्ड पे पहले लिखना सीखा हमने
yes.
Well,
Actually, or actually when it was first, when I discovered that Copilot is, I thought ये तो कुछ अजीब सा virus आ गया मेरे इसमें. But then I later realized that this was an AI tool and probably this. Yes, ma'am. I'll start using it more. Thank you so
well,
much.
So,
okay. And the thing I found about, with the keywords is if you ask it a question and it hasn't really given you the right answer, is to kind of rephrase how you've asked it. And it'll pick
Yes.
that up and it'll interpret that and come back with a different response.
Yes.
I once asked it, why do people play Sudoku? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Sudoku. It's like a game you play with numbers and a pen and things. Why do people play? And then it came up with an answer that was good, but I said, no, that's not what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, why do people play it? And then it kept, I just asked the same question 3 times. And on the third time, it said, okay, now I get it. Now I know what you want to say. So it then gave me a perspective from it being psychological and how it's a release. And I thought that was bizarre because I just asked the same question 3 times. But everything I asked of the AI afterwards was reflective of that, of being wanting to know more things about psychology. It was like it's almost learning me, really.
Oh, this is amazing.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, I think Dr. Vinita is also writing that in AI tools, it is what we are giving inputs as prompts. So that's actually called as prompt engineering. And now there are many jobs which are getting evolved that if you can get the correct prompt to these tools, you can do wonders. So
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
yeah,
You know, and it's not meant to replace us, it's about supporting us. You know,
it's
is
about
embrace it. Embrace it. It's good fun.
empowering us
Yeah,
to.
empowering us, that's right.
Sir, it's not a question, but I just want to request you if you can include some simulation labs also in your sessions, like Labster, Praxi Labs, which uses augmented and virtual reality. They are using in their labs. So, but they are paid. So, can we have some access to some free labs like these?
Right, okay. Yeah, I'll the labs which have do you mean what kind of labs, what kind of subjects are you referring to?
for
Because I
They are
know
related to science subjects, chemistry, physics, and
right.
all science subjects. They include all those
For
subjects.
one is elementary level, I have put up this PHET Colorado for simulations you can use.
Yes, ma'am, that is very basic. But Labster and Praxi Labs are I mean of
They are paid.
somewhat of higher level. Yes, yes, ma'am.
Information science,
Yeah.
okay.
Even
Well,
this flight simulator is also paid. See, anything.
I've written
Yeah.
it down now, and if Phil is the scientist, and unfortunately he wasn't able to attend today, as I mentioned earlier. So I'll get in touch with Phil, and I'll come back, and we can possibly either run another session, or I can pass the information over to Vimal, and then this you can in turn pass it over to yourselves.
Chris, you created
Yes,
that
yes.
simulation for welding. If you can tell us which software you used to create that, maybe
No,
as a
that was freely available. That one was. It's freely
okay.
available, so that was already there. But I do know if you wish to create some content like this yourselves, Adobe Animate will be a really good place to start.
Okay.
You know, when I did my my previous studies, I used Adobe Flash, which I know Flash isn't being used anywhere at all. It's kind of
Let's
removed.
stop, yeah.
But yeah, but but they kind of changed it over to Adobe Animate, and that will also allow you to do that type of thing where you can use the mouse and navigate. Takes a little bit of time to,
But that
you
is a
know, create
time-taking
it.
tool. Maybe as teachers, it will not be so much beneficial.
That's the thing.
And this Duolingo also was a good app, which just now the link to Duolingo was posted by the resource person. So that was also interesting.
Yeah, Duolingo is a really good example. It's really nice.
Yes.
That will be for language learning.
Yes, ma'am, because at times we get good research papers in different languages, which we are just unable to read. So for that
Okay.
purpose, this was good.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. Yeah. So we'll have to find different applications for us and then
Yes, sir. Yes.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So I assume there are no more questions, comment?
Ma'am, one site was also there for chemistry. That was virtual labs by Oxford University. I tried that also. They include mechanisms, simulation for reaction mechanisms.
Perfect.
So I tried that also, ma'am.
Yes, I've
Oh,
also tried that.
Excellent.
Drag and
Glad.
drop type of thing we can also create on our own, simple tools. But then yes, the complex one we need to look it into.
Ma'am, even the labs like the ones you taught in Argus lab was also a very good software, and even ChemDraw and Gaussian all.
Sketch, yeah.
Yes, so they can also be dealt with here.
Let's see.
No,
Here
but
actually
but I
the
don't think, ma'am, they can create experimental. I mean, simulation like things.
No. Only the structures. Only the structures.
That will be more of a static thing, not a simulation.
Yeah, but yes, at times you have such complicated names and structures which for undergraduate students can be a good learning. Like they can create structures and understand the 3D model of that. So
Well, I know that there's people in our department that have started developing VAR and AR applications using Unity. So, that could be an avenue that you may wish to explore. But, if you're going to create something, if you can find something that somebody else has made, then it's obviously a better starting point, because you can just use that creative element. But if you want to create your own, it could take quite a considerable amount of time, and it detracts you from what you're trying to do in the first place, which is to teach students.
Yeah.
Thinking that, Chris, if we can have some already in the gamification, good games which our students are using, the game can be on any theme. But in between the game, can we put our questions and then the students go into those gamification? So they are doing gamification like the popular games, and in between, I am giving my chemistry questions. I was just thinking that if it can be done
Yeah,
by
you can certainly do something like that. I mean, in Socrative, it generated those questions for me, and I can also put in there my own questions.
the questions
Um,
we have, but then how to integrate it in the like Kahoot gives some way of integration, but it's not that level. Like I mean, like it is the uh, kids nowadays are into all those shooting, and also if they reach that particular target and then they are given question that apart from
Yeah.
okay moving to next level, you also answer this question.
Yeah.
Ma'am, I tried that Adobe for making an interactive game, including the quiz. Yes, ma'am. And we can publish that game, and we can share the link of that game with the students. And
No, but Narendraji, that is very elementary level. What I am talking about is a very uh, professionally looking game. If it is already existing
no,
and
no,
you have
ma'am. I made that game and we won the. We were up to the final finale of hackathon, which was it was created by the MHRD. So I made that game on Adobe using Adobe. So it was for the. It was of the higher level, not that elementary level.
Adobe Captivate and
Yes,
Articulate
ma'am.
are
Yes,
the
ma'am.
e-learning professional softwares which can be used. But
I think Captivate is very good. I
yeah,
think is it
Captivate
Yeah,
is
Captivate.
much.
Adobe Captivate, and one is iSpring. iSpring's.
And Articulate is more in the e-learning industry standard, which is being used. Yeah. Okay, I think very nice discussions today. And Babita is adding Perplexity is another AI tool that can be used. So plenty of them. But I think the outcome now today is that we have learned some more tips and tools and why we have to shift because the students like these type of ways of learning. So let us start exploring now and implementing it in the classroom. I think that's where we'll find more solutions that okay how it can be used, and we'll be able to give better prompts also to find the solution of whatever we are thinking of. So with these notes, I think thank you so much everyone, and special thanks to Professor Christopher Manley from NPTC group of colleges. And the assignment will be putting it as a Word doc for all of you, and I'll create a placeholder where you can submit your all these Word docs. Maybe you can have a Google class, Chris, or you will create where do you want them to submit?
Yeah, we'll put together if Google Classroom, if that's what most people use. I don't use Google Classroom myself, it'd be on Microsoft. But yeah, if we could have a look at that, then we can
Okay, so I'll tell it on because we are not having it as a long session. So just
Right.
one assignment they will be giving. So that template, I will share it in your WhatsApp group. Just tell me if some of you are not on WhatsApp group, if there is issue. Tell it right now, or you can mail it to us. We will see that you are given this assignment and you complete by 28th April, and then we'll start the certification process because rest part of the learning, we are taking it from your already attended e-content FDP programs with us. And that is what I'm so thankful to the NPTC group of colleges for taking that part. And one teacher metric also we are getting a good pricing as we have got other, as compared to 180 GPP, they are giving us on, I think 40 GPP, if I'm correct, Chris. So
Yeah.
that also details I will share with you. So those who are interested, they can take that as well. Okay, so thank you everyone so much, and stay connected with us. We keep on bringing experts from across the country and take it further. So thank you, Chris, and
Well done.
yeah, say my hi
Fantastic.
to
Thank you,
Phil
everybody.
Jones also and James Levlin. So thank you.
Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
We'll,
Goodbye for now.
we'll post the feedback link in your WhatsApp group. We'd like to have your feedback and some more insights if you want to share with us. We'll be happy. Thank you. Thank you so much. And
Thank
have
you.
good evening to all of you. And bye-bye to Chris and everyone. And have a great day ahead, Chris. Because
Fantastic.
we are
Thank
in
you.
the later part of the, but you have half the day still there with you. So I can see my colleagues, Sarita, Narendrajeet, Babita, Sujan, and so many others. So thank you so much, everyone. And Sarita, you want to add something?
I think it's a good discourse by Chris, and we all should introduce all these things into our program. I think it's in our teaching. I think that would be nice if we are able to make use of that. I think we need to practice a bit because you have introduced us to a lot of tools. So I think we need to have an extensive session. Maybe Professor Vimal will do an extensive session where we learn a bit more or we practice, and then I think it would we would be able to enrich our teaching with and make our students also interested probably. So that's
And
the
at
aim.
least attending these times also we get comfortable that okay, colleagues from different parts of our world, we are almost on the same page that we are also trying these tools. So what all is being done at the global level, we get acquainted with these stuff.
Yeah, it's always nice to know what all
Nice
is
to know,
happening
yeah.
around. So at least you have an overview of what all is happening and what all you can use to enhance your teaching. So it's always nice.
Thank you. So I think we can say bye-bye to everyone. So see you, and we have this provision MOA with NPTC group of colleges that whatever programs we keep on doing, we can integrate there and you can have an additional certification from them of a slightly different date because they will be accepting the type of assessments and the quality programs that we are giving. So thank you everyone, and more information, we stay connected in the WhatsApp. We'll be giving you all the information and template how you can do the completion. So goodbye, Chris, and
Yeah.
and all.
Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for the lovely comments. Okay, and I'll see you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am. Thank you. Thank
Bye.
you, sir.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.